Hi guys, John Veach here again and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you how to work out your calories and your macronutrients. I'm then going to show you how you can monitor it, track it, make adjustments if you need to, and then most importantly, how you can sustain the results you've got for years to come. Okay, we'll jump straight in. So we're going to go through how to calculate requirements. The first thing we need to do is understand what our total daily energy expenditure is. So this is made up of BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. So this is actions like general circulation, breathing, surviving, basically. Then we have NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is things like fidgeting, walking around, daily movements, daily tasks. EAT is exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is training that you do in the gym. And the last one is TEF, which is the thermic effect of food. So you can see that the thermic effect of food and exercise make up less expenditure than NEAT. So it's important to keep moving. So this is just a good thing to understand. We're going to need to work out your total daily energy expenditure first, before we go into the calculations. So to do that, we're going to times your body weight in kilos by 22. So for me, I'll use myself as an example. I'm 80 kilos, times by 22 is 1,760. You're then going to times that by an activity multiplier. So this will include your NEAT. So if you're active, you have an active job, and we're also going to include your exercise into this. So for example, for me, I'm pretty active. I walk around a lot. I do at least 10,000 steps a day. And I go to the gym around 5 times per week as an average. Okay. So this is what we're going to look at as an average to start with. So for me, I'm going to use the active, and I'm going to be a little bit conservative and go for 1.8. Okay. Try and guess it as best you can, and that's what it is at the end of the day. It's a bit of a guess, but I'll show you how we're going to put that to the test in later on in the video. So I'm going to go for 1.8. So 80 times 22, which will give me 1,760 times 1.8, which will equal 3,168 calories. Now that is my base. That is my maintenance calories. That is what's worked out to be my maintenance. So of my maintenance, I'm then going to split that down into my macronutrients. So proteins, carbs, and fats. So protein is 4 calories per gram. So ideally, you want at least 1 gram per kilo of body weight is sufficient for most people. And the bare minimum would be 0.4. For me, I want to maintain or build as much muscle as I can. So I'm going to go for 2.6. So if I'm going to do for as much as I can, I wanted to maintain as much muscle mass from my maintenance. So 2.6 is what I'll go for. So to work out your protein, you're going to do 80 times 2.6, which is 208. So 208 grams of protein per day, divided by 4, because protein is 4 calories, which will equal 832 calories. Next will be fats. Now, a minimum of 20% of your intake should take fat. Now, this, if you've not done this before, this is what a good range to start with. For me, I like a little bit more fat in my diet now, and I've tested it, and I've been doing this for a good few years. So mine's probably closer to 25 or 30%, but an absolute minimum of 20%. And you're going to divide that by 9, because fat is 9 calories per gram. So for fat, of the total calories, which was from this one here, so the 3,168. So of the total calories, 20% of that is 633, and then you're going to divide that by 9, obviously, because fat is 9 calories per gram, equals 70 grams. Okay, so we have protein, we have fat. The last one is going to be your carbohydrates, which is going to be what is left over. So, and you're going to divide that by 4, because carbohydrates is 4 calories per gram. So from the example of my maintenance, we've worked out the protein, we've worked out the fat, the carbs will be the remainder. So the equation at the bottom, 3,168 minus the calories from protein, minus the calories from fat, which will give you 1,703 calories. You're then going to divide that by 4, which will give me 425 grams of carbs. Now, this is a perfect intake for me. I train a lot, I'm active, I like a lot of carbs, especially around my training session. You may wish to adjust this slightly, maybe a bit more fat content to keep you feeling a little bit fuller throughout the day. But the main thing we're going to go on to now is you must test your maintenance. So in a perfect world, you would weigh and track everything for 2 weeks with the calculations and the macros that we've just gone through to test this, to make sure that that is accurately your maintenance. If you weigh yourself, and if you've not lost any weight, you've not gained any weight in that 2 week period, that is your maintenance. Chances are it will be slightly out, because we guessed at the end of the day, and that's exactly what a macro calculator will do. It will guess your maintenance. You need to put it to the test. Now, I did this about 20 years ago when I started doing it, and I tested it because I was told it was the best method, and it was the best thing that I could have done. I didn't waste any time. I know so many people that just use a macro calculator because they're too lazy to test it for 2 weeks. But trust me, if you test this for 2 weeks, you will get the best results, and you'll be able to sustain them for a long time. You'll need to play around with your maintenance. Now, I will take you through now the equation that most people do, that with how they guess it. So from the maintenance that we've just worked out, if your goal is fat loss or weight gain, you're going to use this. So you're going to either plus or minus 500 calories, or take away 10%, or 10 to 20, maximum 20%, to put yourself into a deficit. If you're going to go into a surplus, you're going to go 5% surplus only, because when you go into a surplus, if you add too much, you're going to gain weight fast, and it's going to be through unwanted body fat. So a 5% surplus is sufficient to put muscle on, as a sufficient increase to put muscle mass on, with limiting body fat. You will put some body fat on, but you will limit it if you just stick to 5%. So for the purpose of this, I'm going to go through it for fat loss. But if you do want me to go through it for weight gain or muscle gain, pop a comment below, and I'll include that as a future video. So for the purpose of this example, I'm going to remove 500 calories from my maintenance. So when you're measuring and you're monitoring this throughout the course of the 2 weeks, or however long you implement it for, you must focus on the trend and not the weight day to day. Your weight will fluctuate day to day, and it's pretty much because of these two reasons. Firstly, salt. A higher intake of salt will lead into holding more water. And again, if you drink or you consume less salt, you're going to hold less water. Carbs hold water. Okay, for every gram of carbohydrates you consume, you hold around 4 grams of water. Okay, so that is not a bad thing. Now you know that. You just need to maintain consistency with your carb intake, and your weight will remain pretty consistent or pretty constant. Okay, so the main reason I've put keto on there as well, because the main reason people do a keto diet or a low carb diet is because they think it's worked for them. And the only reason they think it's worked for them is because they reduce carbs, which automatically means they're not going to hold water, and they lose weight really quickly. Okay, so they think, oh, reducing carbs is the only thing that work for me. But carbs is your main energy source. You need this for your training sessions, and by cutting it out, it's not going to help, especially if you're wanting to maintain muscle mass and you're wanting to perform in the gym. So that's the reason why a lot of people do keto or low carb diets, because they lose water weight really quickly, and they think it's worked. Like, they think it's like a magic pill. So other reasons where you're going to get fluctuations in your weight: if you eat a later meal than you do normally, there's going to be less time from you digesting the meal to the next morning's weigh-in. If you wake up a little bit earlier and you weigh in, again, there's less time before the meal that you had the night before. And again, you're going to weigh slightly heavier. If you've had a heavy training session, maybe you do a full body session or a heavy leg session, and you break the muscle, and you're breaking a lot of muscle fibers down, there's going to be a greater uptake of nutrients, which will mean, again, you weigh a little bit heavier. High stress, cortisol makes you hold water. And again, if you're less stressed, you're going to hold less water. And that's pretty much all weight fluctuations are. And again, a weight spike doesn't mean a gain in body fat. It just means you weigh more on that day. So you've got to take the average for the week. If you use an app, your daily weigh-ins will look like this, and you can see the spike, drop, and spike. Again, just maintain consistency with the macros and the calories that you've worked out, and take the average for the week. So if you're doing it in this method and you're plugging it into an app or an Excel spreadsheet, it will give you a graph. And this is what the ones that this is the app that I use. This is what gives me my weight for the day to day. So you can see focusing on the trend and not the day to day. If I was to look at the day to day, especially that first drop, I'd be buzzing, and then it spikes again, and I'm like, well, and that's the point that most people give up. So maintain consistency, and we're looking for the trend over the day to day. Okay, so all those reasons that I've just given you are the main reasons for weight fluctuations. Okay, so let's go back to my example. So we worked out my maintenance calories. Turns out to be 3,168. Now, my goal is body fat. I want to lose body fat. Okay, so I'm going to reduce it by 500 calories. So 3,168 minus 500 is 2,668. So we're just going to round that up to 27 again, because it's a guesstimate. That it's all is a guess, so we can round it up to 2,700. So that's the reason we've done a 500 calorie deficit across the week, okay, is because a pound of fat is 3,500 calories. A sustainable rate of body, or a sustainable amount of body fat to lose per week is 1 pound of body fat, which is 3,500 calories. 3,500 divided by 7 is 500. Okay, so we want to aim to lose around that 500 grams per week, and that'll equate to that 500 calories. Okay, so from there, 2,700. Of that, we then do the exact same as with the equations for proteins, fats, and carbs. So this time, I'm going to keep exactly the same intake for protein because I want to maintain my muscle mass. So I'm going to times my body weight in kilos by 2.6, which will give me the same amount. Fat is going to be 20% of the new calorie target, which was 2,700. So 20% of 2,700 is 540 calories. Divided by 9, because fat is 9 calories per gram, which will give me 60 grams of fat. And again, carbs will make up the remainder. And again, this time the remainder is 2,700 minus the calories for protein, minus the calories for fat, which will leave me 1,328 calories. Divided by 4 for carbohydrates, 332 grams of carbs. So you can see here at the start, this is what I implemented at the very start, the top picture on the left. Okay, I started on that 2,700 calories. Okay, I implemented that intake with the foods. I was consistent with the food, consistent with my daily training, daily habits. I lost 2 kilos in that first week. Now, remember what I just said, sustainable rate of weight loss is around a pound a week, 500 grams-ish. So I knew that was going to be unsustainable. Yes, I was buzzing, 2 kilos lost in a week, but a lot of that would be water weight because I'd probably reduced my carbs a little bit, exactly what we said about the weight fluctuations. And I knew that if I was to carry on that intake, I wouldn't be able to sustain it past probably another week. Okay, so I added 200 calories a day. So I went from 2,700 up to 2,900. And if you think about 200 calories, a banana is roughly 100 calories. Okay, so a banana and an apple is pretty much 200 calories. And I just consume that around my training times. And then I knew that it would be a slow increase each day across that week. So on day 18, I weighed in again and I'd lost 100 calories. Sorry, I'd lost a kilo in that second week. So again, I want to be aiming for around that 500 gram loss per week. So I added another 100 calories, which again, after 100 calories is something like a banana. Okay, so I didn't need 2 bananas. I think it was a handful of, or 14 almonds is roughly 100 calories. So I think I added almonds because I was close to my my carb target, so I increased fats a little bit because my protein was already at that high point, the 2.6, that I didn't want to increase anymore. So I think for that second adjustment, I added some almonds in, which are a little bit higher in protein as well. But I was mainly looking for the fats there. So now my calories was 3,000 for the next 3 weeks. And for the next 3 weeks, I pretty much lost 500 grams per week. So you can see I've maintained as much muscle mass as possible. And you know, I've lost 500 grams per week, which was perfect, which was ideal. And I wouldn't adjust things again until that weight plateaued or I was happy with the physique that I got to, which was pretty much after the 45 days. I was very, very lean. That picture doesn't really do it justice, but my face was pretty sunk in. I didn't want to get any leaner than that, but I did want to maintain that level of body fat or just above it. And I'll show you how we're going to do that now. So this is pretty much what it looked like across the 6 weeks, from implementing it and just making those small changes and listening to looking at the graph, seeing the weight loss, and not focusing on the weight day to day. Now, sustaining the results. This was in 2020 when I first did that 6 week little challenge, and I've been able to maintain that consistently for up until now. Like 2020, today is July 2024, so I've been able to maintain that level of, like, pretty close to that body fat and sustain that for the best part of 4.5, 5 years. So I'll put a link in this video for exactly how I did that, because it is my best fitness tip and it is the first video that I put on the YouTube. So I'll attach a link into that video here or in the description as well.